All right, Isaiah Delgado. What's your weight?
70 kilos now.
70 kilos, training at the RTC, Utah Valley, right?
Yes, sir.
We call it UVU out here, I guess?
UVU.
All
Yes,
right.
sir.
So, off season, and when I say that, I mean, I'm having like the hardest time coming down off of watching the Olympics at 5 o'clock in the morning, all that kind of stuff. But really, you're gearing towards what? What are you practicing for out there?
Making a world team and then going out and winning worlds in October.
So, lest we forget, there's the 10 weight class, I guess the other 4 weight classes, right?
Yes, sir.
That weren't in the Olympics coming up. September trials, right?
Yes, sir.
In Omaha. So you're training for that, 70 kilos.
Yes, sir.
All right. Tell me a little bit about your experience here, because you graduated already from UVU.
Yes, sir.
And now you're working on the international scene. Tell me about your experience here at the school.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, I've been here 6 years, right? I got the opportunity to start as a freshman, and I don't know if mentally I was ready for that, right? So, I mean, we went out, we competed. College is tough as it is. College wrestling is tough. So if you're not ready, you better get ready, right? And it took me about 2-3 years for that. And unfortunately, I mean, it is what it is. I got kicked off the team at one point for not doing the other stuff. I wasn't going to class, and I mean, there's a lot you got to balance, right? And so eventually, long story short, I figured that out, right? Got my head on straight, and I ended up qualifying 2 years ago. And my senior year, I got a staph infection before conference. So, I mean, I couldn't wrestle conference my senior year, but I mean, long 6 years, it was fun. I mean, I don't regret a single thing, and we're still out here working. We're still out here trying to do good stuff, so.
All right, I got to unpack the kicking off the team thing.
Yeah.
Tell me about it, because there's somebody out there right now. You might have all the talent in the world,
Right.
but you said get your head straight. Obviously, classes are a big deal. We know what college, those of us that are going through the grind of college without being on a wrestling team, know how hard it is.
Right.
Tell me about the comeback. Was there a moment that went off in your head saying, I got to get this right? Or was it just as easy to walk away?
Well, it's just as easy to walk away, but so at this point in time, I got kicked off in February of my sophomore year. And a month later, COVID happens, right? So I'm back home anyways. And when I got kicked off, I immediately tried to protest the coach, like, give me another shot. And he said no. A week later, he calls me back in. This is before I go home. He tells me, you get your head on straight, finish up your classes good, get good grades, stay out of trouble. I'll consider letting you back on. All right, so fortunate enough to have a coach like that. And I go home for COVID, and I'm deciding what I want to do, and I made the decision to myself that, wrestling's what I want to do. So I did all the stuff I had to do, got back on the team, and then moved forward after that. And honestly, I think, as bad as this may sound, I kind of needed that, right? I was one of those kids that, like, yes, I had good advice, but I still had to mess up to learn. And yeah, because of that, I was a better man and person after that.
Okay, so 6 years here, a disappointing finish to your career. That's
right.
gotta hurt, right?
Yeah, it hurt.
We've got what we just talked about with being kicked off the team and coming back.
Yes, sir.
You're still in the game. You're still fighting for a world team spot. You still have that passion.
Yes, sir.
How old are you?
24.
24 years old. What do you tell 19-year-old Isaiah Delgado?
I would tell him to figure out what you want to do, right? Because if I had realized what I wanted to do, like, okay, I want to wrestle, I want to be the best at an earlier age, then I would have, skipped a few steps of maturity that I had to go through. So I would have matured quicker, and who knows, because I mean, I was building off of a NCAA qualifier year, right? I'm building off that. We're moving towards, All-American, NCAA champ. Staph infection, right? It is what it is. I couldn't control that. But if I had made those progressions a little bit sooner, who knows what I would have probably been on the wall next to Demetrius or something,
Yeah, it's one of those things that you never know, but something's still driving
Yeah,
you, right? That's what the
right.
beauty of this sport is. You still got it inside of you,
Right.
and I love seeing that from a fan perspective. So good on that. You mentioned home, El Paso, Texas.
Yes, sir.
I know a little bit about that town just because I did some high school years in Las Cruces, which is a
Okay.
little town north of there,
Yes,
right?
sir.
So New Mexico wrestling. Texas wrestling, especially the El Paso area, is not necessarily known for its wrestling.
No,
What was
sir.
high school like for you there? I'm curious.
High school was a lot of bouncing around, right? I had my high school team, but I had a club team that all the high schoolers would go to.
Okay.
And then I had to do extra stuff on the side, like there's smaller clubs that I'd bounce around to. So it was a lot of bouncing around and then a lot of traveling as well. We'd always go to New Mexico, Arizona, make the drive, East Texas. It was a lot of driving, a lot of work. But it's growing, it's getting better. I have a little sister who just made a U17 world team.
Nice.
So she's doing good. And then whenever I go back, help out as much as I can. We got some good coaches down there. So it's growing. It's growing a little bit. But the thing from my generation that only I see a few people doing, there's big clubs now, but there's not a lot of bouncing around, and that helped a lot. I had a teammate, Kobe Nelms, who we used to bounce around. He's from El Paso as well. He ended up coming over here, Utah Valley, wrestling with me. Started a few times, and that stuff's good, That's what you want if you want to do this stuff, If you want to wrestle in college, you gotta bounce around a little bit.
Okay, one last bit and I'll let you go.
Yes, sir.
Give me the recruiting idea. How did you get recruited? And talk to that kid from El Paso, that kid from southern New Mexico, the kid from even the Arizona area about Utah Valley, even Ohio, right? The kid in Ohio that goes, you know what? I got to get out of here. I got to get out west where I can do a little bit of hiking and stuff.
Right. I would say reach out. Do your homework. At the time, I didn't really know about Utah Valley. I'd say this about my junior year of high school. I had a coach who I was fortunate enough that he connected me to Arkeen Tazimedov. He was the old assistant coach here. Got into contact, started communicating, and then I took a few visits out here and really enjoyed it. But yeah, you got to do your homework. There's a lot of colleges that, everyone knows the Penn State, the Iowa, right? But there's a lot of good colleges. Like, we have a good mat room here, Big 12 wrestling, but if you don't do your research, you don't really know about it, you can miss an opportunity if you're a good wrestler trying to make a lineup at Iowa, Penn State, and that's tough, But this is good wrestling over here. Got good environment, good coaching staff. I would say do your research and reach out. That's what I would tell myself.
Yeah, last I checked, the NCAA tournament is all, it's 33 of the toughest mothers that can get in there, right?
Absolutely.
And why not you,
Exactly.
right? So sitting behind somebody at a Big Ten school might not be the way to go for everybody.
Right.
All right, man. I appreciate the time. What else you got?
I would say figure out what you want to do and have fun doing that, and you'll never work a day in your life.
Haha, that's good. Thanks.
Yes, sir.